It went live to YouTube, huh?
No, no, we don't do it live. We pre-record it.
Oh, okay, because it forced me to do YouTube. So, okay.
Yeah, well, you know what? I don't know what that is. I think it's just a way. It's got something to do with their stuff. We don't go live to YouTube though. We pre-record it. We
Okay.
pre-record it, so we go kick it off now. Hey, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? It's your boy Bigg Steele, Gangster Chronicles. Another day with my guy.
Yeah.
And you know what? Today, I think I can count on my hand the amount of women that we've had on the show. Have we had two? I think Suga T is our second female on the show.
Yeah, probably.
You guys ought to be ashamed of yourself. You only have
Oh,
two
we
more on the
need more.
show.
Yeah,
It's
it ain't that
terrible.
we don't want them.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
but you know, today we got a legend though, a
Yes.
legendary.
Yes, indeed. Definitely.
You know, one of the pillars in the mountain of hip hop. You know, I want to go way back. I'm gonna talk about all the dope stuff that you're doing now. I got to call her Doctor
Yeah.
Suga T.
We'll take that.
She's
Yeah.
you didn't know that,
Hmm.
did you, Eiht? She has her
No, I
doctorate.
didn't. Yeah, that sounds that's great.
Yeah, I have an AA, liberal studies, a AA in general business, a bachelor's in psychology, a master's in organizational management, a master's in supply chain management, a master's in Christian counseling, a doctorate in humanities, and a doctorate, honorary doctorate in music.
You know what? And a lot of those you attained after your career had already started, right?
Yep.
What made you up and decide I'm gonna go back to school and just start and just level up on everybody?
You know, it was a period when people was like kind of like I got a little nervous about how people just jump on hype, you know, and how they just jump off of us as women, especially older women in hip hop. So they kind of
Mm-hmm.
went more towards, the younger generation of women in hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what got me a little fearful. I was like, you know what, I better go to school just in case. But that was a part of it. But then in between time, I just never wanted to be just a rapper. I didn't want people to
I
just be
feel
like,
you.
oh, she raps, so so
I
what, she
feel you.
rap, anybody could do that, that type of thing. I wanted to be in all conversations, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And have a well-rounded experience in life, you know, and not feel like I don't connect with certain environments because I'm not well rounded like that. And just as a businesswoman, I wanted to make sure people knew in the fields of business that I'm in that I'm not winging it. You get what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
just as a mother, I want to show my children, you know, that how important, education is. And it don't necessarily have to be the traditional education, but anything you learn, and add value to you makes sense. And of course, for a variety of reasons for myself, I want to be more of a expert and make sure that I was
Mm-hmm.
doing the right thing in the field of work that I've been in.
That's dope. And I had to shout that out because I thought that was an interesting fact. I said that is so dope, especially to see that in hip hop, you know?
Yes, and to be honest with you, I didn't really go straight in like, oh, I'm about to just go get my doctorate. I'm about to just go get my bachelor's. I actually had an experience which made me go and get my bachelor's. And that experience was I was shopping um, my services, and
Mm-hmm.
these women, when I ran across them, they kind of was acting mean to me, like, "Oh, well, we're not gonna get you. We're not gonna. We're gonna get the girl that's from the neighborhood, and she has a bachelor's degree too. So that kind of made me feel it's hot up in here. I'm trying to turn this heater off in back of me. That kind of made
So,
me, feel like, okay, I'm not supposed to get nobody that, to just be able to just X me out like that and mistreat me and make me feel like I'm not capable because,
mm-hmm.
and compare me like that. So that was one incident. Then I had another incident where I went through this period, a dry period in my career where I just kind of stepped away from music for a minute so I could take a breather, and work on some other things. Close that door, you guys, please. Thank you. So I could work on some other stuff and take a breather. So this time in my career where I took that, reset, get back, make sure I didn't miss out on stuff I knew I wouldn't be able to get to again, like certain times you won't get back. When you're a parent, you won't get the sixth grade graduation no more. You get what I'm saying? You
For
know,
real.
you won't get that ninth grade grad. It's just certain things you'll never get back, and it could be held against you, and you could be feeling guilty later, and it could be used as an excuse for rebellion. So, as a woman, you know, sorry, y'all. I
It's all good. You good.
was always itching when I be on these interviews, but as a woman, it's different. When a woman, she shows up and she's a woman for her space, but the man, he's bringing the money, right? You guys are bringing
Mm-hmm.
the money you're supposed to be anyhow, and you bring in the business. So the woman is doing a little bit of one, but mostly of the other. And for a woman to get away out the space, it ain't cool. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
just like not be there, and I just didn't want to take a risk. Hold on, my granddaughter is acting up. Hey,
You good.
Samadi, what you doing? Okay, keep the iPad in here. I gotta watch her because she be on that iPad cutting up. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these
Sorry,
kids be doing the most sometimes. It's all good.
yeah, honey. Yeah, these teenagers, you got to watch them, but and help them not hurt themselves. But anyway, and as a woman, I didn't want my children to end up like a lot of these star kids. A lot of the star
Mm-hmm.
kids, they up doing everything. You know what I mean? They just living vicariously, just out there bad, wilding out, rebellious, crazy, all into lifestyles that you don't even, it's just a lot of mess, risky lifestyles, drugs, just wilding out, you know what I mean, off the chain. And so I just wanted to make sure that I tried at least to do the best I could to not allow my space to be that way. So I took that break. And during that
Mm-hmm.
break and that reset for my own mental health as well, according to some of the other challenges that I went through, um, that encouraged me to go back to school because I worked for this corporation, Safeway Corporation, and with the Safeway Corporation, it was an agency that booked me there. So I would get these little pocket jobs, to just see what stuff is like, see if I could hang. What if music didn't work? What if I had to do something else? Can I hang? Can I make sure everything's staying moving, right? So that was my little stage. And I said, I want to check on the corporation. And when I got to that corporation, it was a trip because this agency had a girl training me. I mean, the corporation had this girl from the agency training me. So the girl trained me wrong. And so when it was that 90-day period, that 90-day period when they supposed to give you your your benefits, and
That,
they got
pro- that, that probation period.
there you go. Permanently, they smiled and skinned and grin all in my face. And next thing I get the call as soon as I walked out. Oh, we don't need you anymore. And I'm like, what? What happened? They're like, well, we had to hire somebody. It was your 90th day. So, it was you and such, this Persian girl, younger Persian girl. And, so they picked her. I said, well, what was different from her and me? You know what I'm saying? And I
Mm-hmm.
thought I was doing fine. Nobody said nothing to me. Nobody said, oh, you're doing nothing wrong or this and that, right? So they said, well, they said that you didn't pay attention to detail. And I'm like, okay, pay attention to detail. What do you mean? And I'm like, I did what they asked me to do. She taught me how to do the promotions. I was doing promotions for them, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
said, so, I just did what she told me. Nobody never said I was doing anything wrong. So I guess they just liked me and they was just holding on to me to the 90th day because they liked me, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, they knew they wasn't gonna hire me because I guess I was making mistakes the whole time. I didn't know it. And and so when she said that, and she said, well, they was gonna either hire you or her. And I'm like, and I said, well, what else was about her? She said, well, she had a bachelor's degree too. And I said, oh, okay.
That
So
bachelor degree kept popping up on you.
yeah, it kept popping up on me. I said, you know what? Let me go take my black behind to school, so these people won't be having no excuse to keep blocking me out the movement. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what did it. And I said, okay, I'm gonna go get my bachelor. I'm gonna go get my A. At that time, I had an AA in general liberal studies, but I completed the general business because I had a few more credits to go. I was like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna go finish this up. Then I was like, you know what? I might as well go and get the bachelor's, you know what I'm saying? And then I was like, you know what? I'm already in school, so I might as well go and get the master's anyway. I can use this, education anyhow, because I'm not gonna want to do this later on in my life. I was in my 30s, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
and my kids was in school, so some of the time we went to school together. They was in high school, college with me, my children, and
Mhm.
so I'm like, okay, we can both go to school at the same time. So it was a little motivator, and to show them, hey, we go to school together and that kind of thing. So it was some
That's dope.
motivation behind it, yeah. And I definitely
That's
didn't want to be considered an ignorant rapper because today the rappers unfortunately, we don't have the best reputation. You got people everywhere doing everything under the sun, stanking, hopping the air, humping the air, jumping the bone, being all ugly, being ignorant, cussing, acting a fool, and not necessarily representing themselves to me, not in a way of integrity, you know what I'm saying, of
mhm.
what our ancestors fought for. So I'm like, I don't want to be in that space. They're gonna have to respect me. And I don't want people looking all up and down my head like I'm crazy, when I tell them I'm a rapper, because it was really embarrassing to even tell people that I was a rapper. You know what I'm saying? So I came back in and like, I'm not gonna let them just kick me out the circle because
Mhm.
these people get on my nerves. I'm one of the originals. So let me, come back in this space. But when I come back, I'm gonna come back with a whole movement behind me. I ain't just coming back to say, "Oh, look at me, I still rap" or "I got rap music." To me, that's
Mhm.
just kind of bland. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you have a distinguished career. I like to refer to the Stevens family as like the Michael Jackson, like the Jackson Five almost. Because y'all came up, which was dope to me. It's you, your brothers, and your cousin, and y'all did y'all thing. Y'all actually like. I remember when I first heard y'all. I was in a barber shop, Long Beach, and somebody had the tape, and I thought that was dope. I thought that was real, real dope. Did you ever
Mhm.
think it'd take you to where the places that it took you?
You know what? I just have fun. I ain't gonna lie. I was just having fun. I never really tripped on like we're gonna be a big star and this and that. None of that. I just because we always was making things happen in our neighborhood and and whatever we did as a family, it was just like, oh, we doing something else as a family. I always was the only girl, hanging out, with the boys. They always had me, riding bikes, riding motorcycles, going to gun ranges, hanging out on the block. You know what I'm saying? I was always a part of the movement, and we was always doing exciting things where there was never a dull moment in our home. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? So doing that was just another fun thing that was to me. And then of course eventually I realized, oh wow, there's some movement here going on. So we're gonna keep showing up. And so, but I never really even thought or vision trying to be big, to be honest with you. It was just something
Now,
to
who
do.
kicked it off first? Who kicked it off first? Who said, you know what, we gonna start us up a rap group?
All of us, we always was like, we used to be in, schoolyard rapping. I was on the schoolyard rapping. Matter of fact, me and Marvelous used to go at it sometime on the playground when I was in Sacramento for a short time as a teenager. And in between that time, we all always like, my brothers were always break dancing. So I would break dance with them, cutting up, doing it,
Uh-huh.
all the robot and the
That
pop.
was just immersed in hip
You
hop.
know, yeah, he was just always playing into something. Or, the church, I played in church as a child. As a toddler, I grew up singing in church at my grandfather's church. So I
Mhm.
grew up singing with my aunts pushing me to sing and lead songs in the choir. So, my
Mhm.
daddy was a musician. He played the guitar, so I sat on his lap when he came, we always sat in this space on his lap, when we was little, okay, and
Mhm.
and always came back to him coming home from work, playing the guitar, playing the piano, blowing the saxophone, and listening to music. And then
Oh,
my
so he
mom,
played multi. He knew how to play a lot of different instruments. Then.
yeah, my daddy, he's a musician even to this day. He's a blues singer, and he played the music, but he chose his work over, trying to be the BB King because he wanted to make sure he was solid, for the people, for us, for the family. You know what I mean? My
Yeah,
mama
big
was
ass
a
kids.
Yes, sir. My mama also, and all her sisters were musicians. All of them played the piano. We played the drum, the guitar. My grandpa was a musician. So we are a musician family. Viddy, he sing like a bird, and he played the piano like a G. You know what I'm saying? He can do it just listening. You know, he can come up with a tune. So we've been gifted like that as a family. So it wasn't no big deal to me. It just became a big deal when I seen everybody breaking their neck trying to do it, and I'm like, wow, these people will sell their mom out, to do this.
So
This
Leviti related to y'all?
yes, Fiddy's my first cousin.
That's
Hmm.
dope. That's what I'm saying. The Jackson, like
Hmm.
the hip hop Jackson family.
Yeah, he's my first cousin. We got a lot of families. We started off as multiple family conglomerate.
Mhm. You know what? You said a lot of real stuff about women in hip hop. And I see them now. Do you think it's almost impossible for a woman to get on just with her skill set alone?
I do. I think people gonna grow up. I think depending on what age group you reach in, and when they reach them. When they reach them as kids, when the algorithms hit the kids, they don't know no better. You know what I mean? The kids just looking at the rebelliousness, and if they hit the perverts, if they hit the perverts, then the perverts like that. They keep that going, or the men with sexual fixes and foolish fetishes and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But once the people that follow them grow up, they're looking for more. You know what I mean? And they're because it's just an overkill of it. Right now that's all you see. It's just don't make no sense to me. Everybody doing the same thing. So it's like, back when we was young, it was a variety. You know what I mean? Because they
Mhm.
often like to say, well, y'all the one did this and this. Yes, we did, but we had a variety and we weren't put up against each other. It wasn't put this one up to take this one down. You get what I'm saying? It wasn't a
Mhm.
bunch of controversy and funking with each other and all these open spats online to get attention and all this everybody over sexualized. Every time you look at them, they got their tail out. You know what I mean? It just don't make no sense. It's stinking to me. I'm so sick of looking at booty. It just don't make no sense. And I know men got to be sick of looking at booty. It look like it stink around them. You know what I mean? So it's like, so you can only get so much booty. It's
Yeah,
like so
that
much
seems to
booty.
be the norm today. You get me? Is that because what I'm not a female, so I couldn't explain it, but it seems to be the norm for attention or to be famous in some kind of way. Everybody want to be famous today, and even with the females with the sexualizing,
Oof, we.
they know that in some form of fashion it can bring some kind of income, right? You feel me?
Well, they think that because it don't
Or is
always.
it, or is it the attention that's want? Because
Yeah,
I don't understand it, because if you claim to have a man at home, you know why you want to be on Instagram or X, you know,
right.
doing
Mhm.
the antics you do for is it
Twerking and all that other stuff. Twerking.
That
is it
don't make
for
sense.
like I said, is it for attention, or is it to be famous, or is it the angle to attract people so that you can, lure them to your OnlyFans page for attention? Like I
I
said,
think
it's
it's
become
saying
the
it's
norm
a
now.
variety. I think it's a cesspool now. It's just a cesspool of foolishness, and anything goes, and a bunch of thirsty people just looking for something, and a bunch of confused know-it-alls that don't want to listen to the older generation and get some real game. They want to compete against us. You know what I'm saying? Instead of rocking with us, you feel me? And it's just a bunch of people just doing what they think it takes to get whatever they're trying to get done. So
Mhm.
whether it's them trying to show that they famous, they want to get famous, want to be seen, whether it's them, showing that they trying to get some money, just like you said, everything you said was right, trying to lure them over to their OnlyFans, or whether it's, which is really sad because, they don't tell the scary stories about that stuff. They talk only the money part, but they don't talk about the people that got their neck sliced, these girls that lured somebody over through, that they found the IP address and went to their house after, being teased so much, and somebody killed theyself and killed a girl too. You know what I mean? After he didn't pay for the girls' BBLs, you could find it. Mercedes is her name. She was out of Richmond, Texas. Her name is Mercedes. They don't say all that stuff. So when I'm speaking, people get. I'm like I call myself a twerk patrol, right? So they get a little upset at me because what happens is, I always be on people. I get on when I see twerking. I'm on there like stank, and people get upset at, be mad at me. But at the end of the day, I don't care. I go right on my Suga T profile because it's bigger to me than just what you got on. It's bigger about what you're doing. It's not judgment. This is dangerous. It's dangerous mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, the whole, you just really putting yourself in a traumatical space where you're going to be eventually traumatized, or you just missing out on what the truth is. You're in a delusion if you think life is all about booty and sex.
Yeah, for real.
I don't just blame it on the hip hop artists. It's also the reality show stars did it. They started it off with the breasts, and they just showed a little circle around their nipple, and then all the breasts showing. Remember that? They the one that started that stuff. We didn't do all that. The girls, the rappers and stuff, even the hoochie mamas wasn't all the way there, that far until they came out doing that stuff. Then everybody else started wanting to, do that. But anyway, go ahead, honey. Mm-hmm.
But you and Eiht is from the same class, so to speak, like the 90s, right? That's that's my time too. That's our era, right? Mm-hmm. I think everything is over sexualized right now. We in this hypersexualized generation right now. I remember, MC Eiht and all of them had Queen Latifah and them. They ain't have to do none of that. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They just rapped. And I think as the videos came along, I think somebody had the idea to say, let's do this right here. You had the success of the 2 Live crew, and you was going to eventually see all that. People's go, as you call it, they was going to go up there showing that booty because a lot of people like the booty. A lot of men like the booty. You know what I'm saying? So I think they're trying to service an audience, right? But then this the part right here, T. What happens to the girl once she becomes somebody's mama?
You would think she's going to slow her little tail down, it's a sad thing. That's what I mean. It's just if she grows up, and if she, a lot of these girls go run and get abortions and stuff. They don't want to mess their BBLs up, so they run around killing babies anyway. So so I'm really disappointed with us. I really am. And I say that not in judgment, because I'm a speaker, I'm a teacher. I teach people how to create equitable opportunities for themselves. You know what I'm saying? And I also have training programs. I do staff development, leadership, competence training. I focus on the trauma and system impacted community, when we serve in my organization. I have a school, educational practice, where it's wellness and education, and so I say this. I have a program called the Save Our Sisters Project. So I'm not just saying it because I'm looking down on people. You know what I mean? I got receipts to show that I actually try to help, and I lived this life before. I went through my little short stinking period for one moment with Foxy Brown was cutting up and, Lil Kim back in the day. And I went through my little very, very quick lived.
And you felt like you had to do that to compete, huh? Because you saw that poster with Lil Kim on there, huh?
I just had fun. I was the first who squatted. I squatted first. Kim was after me. But I was having fun. And I was like, I'm going to get this dude back. I was going through a divorce at the time. I'm like, I'm going to show him I can be cute too. It was about getting him back. It wasn't about, I'm about to, y'all come get me. I'm all of this and y'all can have it. And what it was I wasn't just, you can have it. I'm like, nah, I ain't got to do all that and you ain't getting it. You know what I mean? You could look, but you can't touch. You feel me? I kept it PI. These girls is just like, oh, come get it. Y'all can do it like this and we can do it like that. And it's just unclassy. It's untactful. You know what I mean? And it's just too long. They're doing it too long. You go through stages. We do that, but this too long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everybody go.
It like I said, is it because of the difference in the generational gap? You get me? Like you said, shit has been sexualized for a long time and shit. You
Hmm.
know, we
Hmm.
saw movies back in our days, or we all had cable TV or HBO or Playboy, whatever. Uh, um, but it wasn't as sexualized in our music as much as it is today.
And it,
Um,
that's real.
is that because of the time and place for hip hop now? Because back where we came from, I think we vision hip hop in a different light. Um, because we were trying to build the foundation of hip hop, and I think because we were looked at as a gimmick or nobody wanted to really invest in us, we took pride in what hip hop was. um, but uh, strip clubs have always been around, ladies in the strip clubs and making their money and trying to do what they do. Um, and that's where sort of it started leaning, right? uh,
Hmm.
you know, when we started getting the sisters who would over sexualize the situations in hip hop or with the videos or what they spoke about. uh, and then thus following that, you have a lot of young women now following that path of that order of hip hop. Is that because of just the gap in generation of what we saw fit and what they feel is okay to do now? Or do you see that as social media and the internet and having that access, uh, being able to exploit it as much as it is so far? Because young girls look at it
Absolutely.
today, they go, "Oh, I can make a gang of money if I." You get me?
Yeah, absolutely. We trying to keep our grandkids off the pole because
Back
that's
in the
all they see.
days, right? Like you said, try to keep the kids off the pole. Back in
Mhm.
the days, that you had prostitution, right? You had to
Right,
go out in the corner, the motherfucker, whatever, whatever.
right.
But now you have different access to that shit. I don't got to go on the corner no more. I could
Yeah,
turn on my
it's in
video.
your pocket. Yeah.
I can turn on my video camera or my phone, and
Hmm.
and the site. That's why I say it's crazy, because most of the sites
Yeah.
allow you
Yeah. Oh yeah.
to post a 5-second video of just ass or the what you wear
Yep.
or this or that.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so we didn't have that access back when we were coming up in hip hop. And I think,
And we
like I
weren't
said,
interested neither.
we took a
Yeah.
different look at hip hop. I don't
Yep.
think, like, because like you said, it was very secluded,
Hmm.
and it was very hard for women to sustain in hip hop.
Actually, it wasn't. I think it's harder for them to sustain now because what they got to do to be in it, the newer ones.
But
Well, it's
I
harder
say that
now
on
for
the
us.
aspect of I say that on the aspect of because of it was very limited. You get me? You
Yeah,
could
we had
count
to work
on
hard. We had to
you
be
could
tough
count on
to
your
make it.
hand
Yeah.
how many sisters was
Yep.
really,
And we
I'm
was raw,
talking
the ones that was, we stood. You know what I mean? We stood. We
I'm
had to
looking
show.
at
We had to
I'm looking
show
at
up.
the salt and peppers. I'm
Yeah.
looking at you. I'm looking at the Money Loves, the Queen
Yeah.
Latifahs,
Hmm.
the Yo-Yos,
Rage, JJ
uh,
Fat. Yes.
so it was a tough to be able to hang with the brothers.
You had to
You
be
know,
tough.
you
Yeah.
had to be
There you
tough,
go.
and your
Yeah.
your rhymes had to be like, you
Yeah.
couldn't come up talking about ass and titties
Bubblegum.
and
Yeah.
bullshit like
Bubblegum
that,
stuff. Hmm.
because of how we respected hip hop. You had to have
Yes.
wordplay. So even if you're gonna be a sister,
That's
yo,
real.
you had to be wordplay.
Yeah. You couldn't
Today
come
it's
playing.
like
Hmm.
Today it's like, okay, shit, put on some fake ass, some fake titties, talk about the strip club and how many niggas fiending for the pussy, how many niggas gonna pay for this, and I had your nigga doing
Get
this
away
and
from my door talking. I'm on an interview. Close that.
and then so
Sorry.
like it influences, because if you, like you said, if you got a 15-year-old granddaughter or daughter at
16. I
home,
got 16. That's various. I got 4 16-year-olds. I got a 19-year-old, and I got a whole bunch in between there. Yeah.
and so it's
Yeah.
hard it's hard to guide that when you
Hmm.
got a motherfucker like on a video half naked with Rolexes and jumping out of Rolls Royces and mink
Yeah.
coats
They
on
put
and
the
diamonds,
kids. They made
and
kids.
that's making a motherfucker go shit. Because I've heard little kids as young as 6 years old, like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna be a rapper, because
Yeah.
they see
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and
You
I'm
get
not
it.
I'm not I'm not seeing, they're not looking at,
Yeah.
the salt and peppers or the sugar
Yeah.
teas or the yo-yo. They looking at what's going on right now and
That's
going,
because
oh,
their
I want to
parents
be
ain't planning it for them.
so
Their parents ain't planning it. See, people. First of all, everything you saying is nothing but on point. And you started off asking, but then you start telling what it is. What you saw, what it is what it is. It's
Mhm.
this internet. These people have been able to play these games through this internet, and this where it started at is being branded on TV. The new third, see, I'm writing a movie called The Rapidemic She Tale of Sugar T and how rap became a pandemic and a weapon to the women who broke the rules, right? And it's
Mhm.
specifically addressing what happened because I watched the whole thing. I was a part of it. I stepped back to see while I was working in other spaces and places. I come back and I'm like, dang, this didn't went all the way backwards because this is
Mhm.
y'all didn't they literally pushed. First of all, they pushed the women to get another job. Okay, the older women, number one, and they start hyping up just what you said. These kids and all the older men start hyping up these kids too. The ones that were gatekeepers and had a platform, and they jumped on the kids' back, scared, thinking it took them kids for them to stay famous. They was running scared to try to stay in the game. So it was either keep it super hood, but there's, as we know, there's so many ways to keep it hood, you know what I mean? And then, or it was jump on the kids' back because they're young and let's stay relevant. When the reality is they didn't need to do that. They had already made a brand. They already had the balls up in their court. They already was smashing. You know what I mean? So we had made platinums and golds, and really we had real people, as you know, Mr. Eiht. They showed up for us. We had to show up and show out. It wasn't no hide behind the internet, behind the camera for a minute, and on TV to get the buy-in. No, when we showed up, we came and showed out. You know what I mean? And it wasn't no faking. We could every now and then want to get away with it, like Nilly Vanilli or somebody, but they even showed up.
Yeah, for real.
So
Yeah.
that's the thing. You said it all. What you just said was they put these kids in front of the TV and in these spaces where they could be seen and made them look like they had the answers. And it didn't just affect the community, I mean, the industry, it affected the community too. You got these youngins trying to challenge their mamas, thinking they on the same level as them. You know what I mean? They looking
Mhm.
at the women that's, the young girls that's smashing, looking like they got the Rolls Royce and all this extra stuff going on, and boom, now all of a sudden they got the answers. So you got them where they don't even want to hear their mama. Oh, mama, you ain't popping like that. So I'm over here. She got the money. You get what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
it was a dismantling from so many different layers, of all of us, of all different, the community, the industry, and then you had the boys that running scared, that made it where you either, they jumped on somebody back to survive, thinking that was the way, and they stopped pushing the older men and the older women, both. They stopped supporting it, the ones that needed the support, and they let these kids get the front. And that's where they messed up at because the kids got in front and took advantage of it. And whoever the handlers was like, yeah, smash on them. Let's keep this. Let's put the gas on it so we can get it in. In whatever agendas. There's so many different agendas that was trying to be accomplished.
Mhm.
That the bottom line is that's where it started from. And then just the SEO and the SEO and the algorithms and all of that started, pulling people towards, these girls and
Mhm.
these guys, and it's controversy, mess, reaching these little kids that like mess. You know what I mean? And then the parents, older women, women our age, they lost it and start pushing with the hype, and now they done turned off the OJs. You know what I'm saying? They turned off Stevie Wonder and BB King and you know what I mean, and all the people that we listen to keep that balance, Shalimar, and I can keep going on and on. And now the Cameo and all the old school soul music, they kept
Mhm.
our soul somewhat balanced, and they start letting these little kids music come on, and that
Well, that's the
energy
key
started.
word right there. What you said, not to cut you off, but balance. It ain't no balance no more.
Ain't no balance. And they let them come in and take over, literally. Like I seen older women, my mama's age, like turning off the old school music and letting the kids take over. And I'm like, what part of the game is this? Like, we could never come take over no music in our mamas and them parties, when we was growing up. Like,
Mhm.
y'all just let the kids come put on some kiddie music. I've been done with this kiddie music. I couldn't stand it for years. I mean, I didn't like it. I refused to feel like I had to sound like Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion and Nicki Minaj. Now, matter of fact, Nicki Minaj is probably the only one that I'm gonna give some props to, and the
Yeah,
reason why I'm
Nicki
gonna do that
bad.
is because she was the first one when we were all on hiatus, taking a break, getting some balance. We had already made a whole bunch of movement in the game. Whatever our stories was, she came in, slipped in the middle, and held it down, and she worked very hard to do it. And she, you could tell she wasn't trying to be this rough, tough. She was a gimmick straight up. And she made that very clear. She wore her little outfits and, funny stuff. And you know what I mean? It wasn't like I give it to her because now I was a little annoyed with her at one point because I'm not into the fake butts and all the stuff that these people got going on because I think it's fake when you're worshiping somebody's body because it's fake. To me, that's fake, So, but hey, to each his own. But what I did learn to respect her for was later when all these other girls copied off of her, basically off of her and Little Kim and Foxy Brown, who had already done it. But of course, there was a resurge of that kind of stuff through Nicki Minaj and through, so she the one I think should hold it because before, as you know, Trina came way a little after, all of us, but Foxy and Kim was the main sex pots, and then Trina
Mhm.
was like kind of the hood, another version of the sex pot, and then you had coming in later. I'd play with it every now and then, and then you have later on in the 2000s where Nicki came in, and she came and gave a sex pot, but everybody copied after her after that. You know what I mean? Copied off of her. And then
Yeah,
you got all.
I think around that time, females started figuring that that was that was a tool that we couldn't do that still. You get me?
Not at all.
We had it a little bit, as you want to say, with Too Short, because Short always spoke women and spoke sexual shit or whatever. But I think once the Nicki Minaj surge took off, and like you said, the fake butts started coming into play, and then I think the young hip hop females started seeing that that was a different side that they could exploit. Um, uh, the strip club rap. You get me? It was a
Mhm.
lot of it started being a lot of talk of sex, money, what I'm getting, what the niggas paying
Yeah,
for.
what am I gonna get?
Well,
Uh,
Cardi B did too because she came in and got on TV and did that, and that's how she actually got branded, right? Because she
right.
was on that TV show. So the people, what they did is they took advantage of the opportunity to, for easy branding, an easy sale. You know what I mean? And then there you go. They start following her because of her strip story. So everybody was like, "Oh, if I'm a stripper and I can get discovered as a rapper, blah blah blah," right? And then, but see, check it out. See, I ain't mad at them, right, for taking
Right.
advantage of the opportunity. But I'm mad about the fact that nobody supported us. Because if they would have kept supporting us, OGs, instead of letting these kids run amok, because that's what they did, then they would have had some hyenas on their heads and they wouldn't have been the only ones shining and getting into space. You understand what I'm saying? We would have
Mhm.
been up in the middle of that too. and it would have been balanced. And at the same time, they wouldn't have felt so empowered, like, oh, we must be all that because look at the girls blow out. You hear them saying stuff in their songs and everything. You know what I mean? And like I told some people one time, they came to me and I'm like, no, I'm good. I ain't trying to, I done already made platinums and golds, and I done been all over the world. I done already made my mark. It's going to take a minute for y'all to catch up to me, and that just mark in the game, but I'm a general. I ain't got to do what these kids is doing. You know what I'm saying? And they would come at me and be like, oh, you got to sound like Nicki Minaj or Cardi B. They would throw Cardi B. And you got to sound and look like that. I'm not doing all that looking like transvestites with all the packed makeup on my face and I ain't doing all that extra stuff. I'm not overdressing. I'm not doing none of that. That don't make sense to me. I ain't never had to do it and I'm not going to. My skills gonna pay these bills. You know what I mean? And so it was a trip when the City Girls came out. And people was telling me I needed to sound like the new girls. Now here I need to sound like them. Now here I done came through a whole 20-year run already, with a whole nother element of my own lane of how I present my music, right? And even off hiatus. And they started supporting the City Girls. And the City Girls sound just like JJ Fad and Salt and Pepper. And I'm like, wait a minute, what part of the game is that? They telling me I need to sound like Cardi, but this new girl come in, these girls come in sounding just like us back in the day. So I'm kind of annoyed with the way that we as our colleagues did. We talking about multiple things, but I guess I could stick to the girl thing. So I don't like how they treated us. They didn't have a life jacket for us. They didn't say, come on, sis, let's keep you going too. Don't be letting these little youngins smash on you like that. They was all for the youngins making their moves and not even looking out for us.
Well, let me ask you this, T. Let me ask you this. There ain't down in LA, there haven't been too many successful rap girls outside of Yo-Yo. Who else have we had down here, Eiht?
Well, you had Yo-Yo, you have Rage, even though she's from Virginia, but she represented kind of
Rage represented. She always represented where she was from,
Yeah, but she was there because she was with the LA group,
She was with the Death Row Run, and Death Row represented the West Coast. Right. But she always told you she represented Virginia.
Farmville.
Yeah, she's from Virginia. But
I respect that. But like you said, we've had rappers.
5-footers. You have the 5-footers. You have the Doggies Angels. The Doggies Angels.
Yeah,
but they tried for the moment. They had a moment.
The worst part. The problem with that is, and we've all felt victim to that. I have, is a lot of times labels don't know what to do with you as an artist, especially coming into this genre of hip hop we were in. They didn't know what to do with me. You get me? I just represented a part of era that a lot of motherfuckers went through as far as the streets is concerned. When you get to speaking on people like Yo-Yo or the 5-footers or even Rage or
JJ Fad,
niggas didn't know how to, JJ Fad was, they were successful because they came in at a time where hip hop was new. You feel me? There were no there were no restrictions as far as
had a big dance record.
And we were coming out of a dance era time. You get me? Even Easy and them had a song, something to dance to, that was fast, whatever. Because we were coming out of the dance era, the 80s and shit. So JJ Fad was successful with Supersonic because it was a dance record. And every teenager in America going to high school dances and all that shit was still popular. So that's where JJ Fad was able to slide in and blow up. But if you would have took them and put them 2 years back when the era of West Coast music really blew up with Easy and NWA and then Compton's Most Wanted and so forth and so on, it probably would have been a harder deal. But like you said,
because they wasn't street. you know.
Exactly. And like I said, they were coming out of the dance era.
Right.
Everybody was going to high school dances and partying and doing all of that. So it was the perfect record,
Right.
Supersonic.
That's true.
Because
Yeah.
when you look at rap in a whole
Yeah.
back then, a
Yeah.
lot of stuff was up
Hmm.
tempo generated. You get
Hmm.
me?
Yes.
So it was a perfect song to slide in. But like you said, as far as women on the West Coast, it was hard because labels didn't know how to market. You feel me?
And
A
it
lot of
wasn't just that. We had experiences with the people we were connected with. A lot of behind the scenes stuff that went on that, you can't sit up and tell everybody business, but people be dating people and they, sneaking and dating and sleeping with, it'd be all kind of stuff. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Speak on it.
I'm speaking through the, y'all know what I'm talking about because I'm not trying to put everybody business out there. But at the end of the day, it'd be stuff that women be going through because it'd be a lot going on behind the scenes. And then when it's time for it to pop off and it don't work no more, it's some damage control that be happening. And then they got to back up and then they end up getting buried. And, it's like, look, you call that bitch again? You bet not. Don't you call her no more. I don't care what you got to do. I don't care if she is on your label. She got to go at the end of the day. You understand what I'm saying? You got wives involved. You got a lot going on. So at the end of the day, a lot of that stuff happened to a lot of the people in these spaces that we're talking about too. You know
No,
what I mean? Only
you
because
know,
I heard the stories and I've heard it from people and directly sometime, but I don't want to put people business out there. But go ahead.
yeah. So even so, it's the same. What I was going to touch on was even in the Bay, you had Marvelous. What other females? Who else was in the Bay?
So Marvelous is not from the Bay,
She's from Sacramento, right?
although she's loved by the Bay. She's from Sacramento.
Yeah, Sacramento. That's what I meant. Northern
An
California.
adopted Bayoan, but she's from Sac. She liked the rep Sac too. It's a whole different world, but it's still connected at some capacity. So you had Marvelous, and then you had people sporadically even from there. Was a girl named Pinky Cold Dumb. Y'all remember that song? Y'all ever heard
Yeah, I
that one?
remember
Remember
that.
that Pinky? Yeah, Pinky was out there. And then in the Bay, you had, of course, myself. I'm the biggest West female artist from Northern California, the first and the biggest female that ever left California on cross country and then the nation first, worldwide and nationwide, right? But in between there, we had Oakland 357, we had Knick Knack, and Knick Knack was with Yo Yo at one point, but she didn't continue with Yo Yo in that way. But Knick Knack, she was from the Bay and she went to LA. And then the Conscious Daughters, and so CMG and Special One we toured together, for years.
Shout out to Conscious Daughters.
Shout
I
out
forgot
to
about them.
yeah,
Rest in
I
peace,
still
because
hit
two
up
of them passed away, didn't they?
this day. That's my
yeah,
people.
yep.
CMG
Rest in
is
peace,
the people.
Special One. Yes,
Yes.
she is. So you have TMG and a Special One, and that's the Conscious Daughters, and then you had Mystic. Mystic was
Mystic was
very
real dope.
for the moment. Yeah, she was a hit in and out, but she was there. She was in the Bay, and I think she would have survived if she stayed in the Bay, but she ended up coming to LA, and then I think she got caught up in the label stuff, and then, bam, it was over. So it didn't last long. And then she tried to stay out there, but obviously I don't, probably couldn't survive, in that space. But, maybe if she was home, one of us might have could have kept her going or something. But anywho, that I'll be scared to leave my post. You know what I mean? I'll go temporarily, but I'm not leaving my post like
You
that.
said
When
she
I
wasn't coming to LA, huh?
I don't mind coming. I love LA and I love to go other places, but I like to come back home. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm not gonna set up shop somewhere where I don't know what's gonna happen, because once you get somewhere, people get familiar with you. It be hot when you're visiting. You get stuff done. People make meetings for you, this and that. You know what I'm talking about, MC Eiht, when you go somewhere else. But once you there permanent, that's when stuff start dragging. They know you there now, so they ain't gonna move like they would when you're not there. You hear what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
if you're not gonna move, you need to be home with not moving, because then you could be figuring something else out on the way, in the middle of it. You feel me? At home safely. But when you somewhere, you go visit and just wait for them to, and let them move at that time. Like right now, I can call somebody and be like, "Hey, I'm in LA. can you make a meeting for me? They'll make a meeting for me. They'll push everything around. But if I was in LA, then it's like, oh, well, I got this to do and that, and it'll be a couple weeks, a month, before they bring you in. So I think when you do that, you mess stuff up. So anyway, it was her, and then it was a couple of more, but they weren't famous like that. You get what I'm saying? They just they made some albums or some singles here and there. And then there's some newer ones, I think it's Kamaya and some, they're different to me. They like kids, like they kind of, work with the synthesizer and, on their voices and that kind of stuff. I never was into that stuff because that just get on my nerve, the sound.
You don't like the auto-tune, T?
No, that this if it ain't Roger and Zapp doing it, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of difficult for me to receive it anywhere else because, that kind of thing. But but yeah, there's a few other ones. There's a white girl, I forgot her name, and then Kalani, I think was her name, and then
you had Krayshawn too. What was the girl Krayshawn?
Yeah, Krayshawn. Okay, that was another. Was she a white girl too?
Yeah, she's a white girl.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
she had the one song. Her and her this other white girl. They had the one song, and it hit like that. It hit and was gone.
Yeah. Just in and out. So it's a difference between a legend, and then somebody that got popular. So I'm just speaking on the actual legends. And then some of the ones that came after was, they just got popular. You know what I mean? Yeah.
What got you into wanting to rap? Was it just the time? Did the brothers convince you, or did you just like, fuck that, I'm gonna start rapping too?
I did it to stay out of trouble, to be honest with you, and to have something to do, and it was because my brother was rapping and I was interested in music because I used to sing it coming in, and I actually had a singing song that I was playing with before we put something on wax, and then with Studio Tone before everybody knew him, and then eventually because he was looking for an artist, so I was like, hey, we came to his little casting call, so it was kind of fun. This was me and some of my girlfriends, we like to stay in the stuff, like cheerleading and create our own little neighborhood groups, sell lemonade on the corner, go I was doing hair, all kind of stuff. So so that was just another area that I was playing with. And then eventually it got like, oh, okay. My brothers and them seen that, I had talent and believed in me. So, and I always trusted and believed in them. And it was a way that we can all kind of transition from the lifestyle that we all, kind of got connected to, and was able to, reroute our energy into something that was safe and positive, and that allowed us the opportunity to soar in a different way. You know what I mean? So I did it.
Saved a lot of people's life.
It did what?
Said hip hop saved a lot of people's life.
It did, and it also ruined a lot of people's life too. But yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. The people that took it and actually did something with it, and then just do it to go make a big old party and get everybody high and have sex with everybody and take advantage of people because they're famous, and and play with people's lives and take up their time, and and sell them dreams and block them from growing, and all of that.
So you never dated nobody within the industry, huh?
You say what?
You never dated nobody in the industry then?
I did.
You had your run-ins.
I did one, just one. That's it.
Just one. Who was that?
I ain't telling you. Nobody knows except for me and him. That's it.
You said nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Me and Tupac was good friends too, though. He would come to my house as a landing spot when he got tired, coming to the Bay. So he was my buddy. But in terms of like the dating game, I dated some ball players, very briefly. And then I really wasn't interested in people in the music industry because I just seen too much of what they was capable of doing when they away,
Exactly.
So I was like, nah, I've been had to hurt somebody,
No.
And then you get some that ain't in the industry and they still cut up on you. But at least it's not as bad because I've been married, twice, and they turned into a disaster as well. The
You've
first
been
one I
married.
wasn't expecting it, but the second one, and the first one he still used my name to this day trying to get people to have conversations with him, and he was a hot mess. And then, but the second one, I kind of knew the possibilities, so it wasn't as bad.
Mhm.
Yeah. Then they
So let's go back to your husband, right? Did you marry him when you was did you marry him when you was out there being Suga T?
I did right in the middle of it, which was not smart.
Oh,
It wasn't
Right in the
smart.
middle of it. That's the worst time.
That
Was
was
he
the worst
tripping?
time. I was tripping because my goal in my mind, I was like, shoot, my brother's is married, everybody gone. When I go home, I'm by myself. And here I'm
mhm,
famous. I got in a fight with a couple of people when I was famous. I didn't know people act crazy when you're famous. I had to carry my gun everywhere, protecting myself. And I was like, you know what? I'm either gonna have to always have a bodyguard, that I'm gonna have to pay and may not be able to trust him eventually, or I'm gonna marry somebody that can protect me. And that's what happened. So I went and got the biggest man I could find
Mhm.
and scare everybody and tugging his big old butt around and and enjoy. He was from LA and he unfortunately turned into a dog and really took advantage of being able to utilize what was around, and I had to separate him from everything so I could get him away from my brothers, and so nobody want to hurt him because he was just acting a fool, and it was a mess. So he said one stupid thing coming in the house, coming in my brother's mansion, well, I guess we'll just stay at our little house. And my brother was like, don't you ever bring your nigga to my house again. So he messed up. I'm like, oh God, I can't even bring him around the family no more. You said something stupid, dummy. So this was in my 20s, and so yeah, so he messed that up because that just turned into a don't bring that nigga around ever again, you know. So that was a whole different thing.
sound like his intentions weren't too good, and sound like he was playing that, well, he got it role. Why he can't give it to you role? Some of that shit always reflects on niggas who be insecure and jealous, I guess. You feel me?
Well, the thing about it was, I actually when I met him, I had a nice big old 3-story house, everything at 24. You know what I mean? But he was jealous of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came in jealous of that. I ain't gonna pay your house note for you to, and made some bad decisions by trying to please him. Because my goal was, let me get somebody, that makes sense, and let me have this covered, so I don't have to deal with this in my career. I could be locked into something. You know what I mean? But it wasn't the right thing to do. That was probably the dumbest thing I could have ever done. But my intentions meant well. But at the end of the day, it was some, would you say you did it for the wrong reason? It was some for the wrong reason. So I'll
You say
take
you
some
were
of my
24 at the time?
accountability. Huh?
You say you were 24 at the time?
Yep.
Yeah, see, that was part of it. And you out there rapping, you out there doing shows and stuff. Was he jealous?
Super jealous. Jealous for me and jealous of me, both.
And because everybody
Oh,
like,
yeah.
everybody
Abusive.
likes Sugar T.
Yeah, he was abusive, emotionally abusive, telling me I'm too dark, I'm too skinny, I'm too this, I ain't gonna be nobody, I'm too old to be rapping. Why am I still rapping? And here I'm 24, but I'm too old.
Yeah,
Now,
you sound like he was a hater.
he was a
Yeah.
hater at that time.
Sound like you married a player hater.
I didn't know it, and eventually, I guess because he was a school teacher at the time, and he used to play basketball. That's what I thought he was into from the beginning. So I ain't even gonna lie, because he was tall, 6'10" like that. But
Oh, he was 6'10"?
yep, 6'10". So after investigating a little bit more, he was playing overseas and he wasn't playing no more, and so he ended up, being a teacher. And he, because of what I would make in 2 hours, that was his salary for the whole month he worked. You know what I mean? So when he started seeing that, oh, I could get a feature and get paid $4,000 easy, $6,000 easy, for a feature, or go off and do a show and come back lit, he was so jealous, just like, how y'all dumb niggas, y'all country niggas going. He was from LA. why y'all country niggas making all this money? How y'all doing that? So I really felt bad for him because I was like, okay, well, let me help him, let me help him understand the game. So I put him on. I ain't even gonna lie. You know what I mean? I taught him the game. I taught him how to get distribution, and I helped him do a CD, and got on his one for him. I was his woman on it, and then I helped him put one together. I even let him.
Well, he was rapping.
No, he was trying to do a compilation album, a record label.
Okay, got you. Okay.
Yeah. So I kind of supported him just so he could feel comfortable.
You was holding him down as his woman. You was holding him down.
Yeah. So, but he really, took advantage of that, and it was not. I never really talk about this on. So this is our first interview talking about him because I don't ever really get off into that because he crazy about me now. Like he big. He still feels so stupid, because I'm still here and surviving. And, and at the end of the day, he got into some trouble, and he could have went totally down if I would have testified against him, which that's what the people was trying to get me to do. But I was like, nah, I ain't doing that. If y'all want him, y'all got to figure it out. That was a long time ago. I'm not trying to mess up nobody's life, even though he damn near messed up mine because it took a long time to get back from so many levels. But, I'm like, I'm not going to be the cause of that. You know what I'm saying? God is he got something for him, So, he really appreciated that because I really could have took him down because he was facing 20 years to life. And for something I knew he didn't do, but he was a gigolo. So he was the type that a woman just want to set him up, you know what I mean? And get him in trouble because he was, manipulating and sneaky, and play with these women's, you know what I mean? Go play with lawyers and, he'd throw them in my face. Well, I could be with a lawyer, Matter of fact, he part of the reason why I got my education too. Because he thought he was so smarty pants. Because he
one of them slick con niggas, man. He one of them slick con niggas.
And when he's still moving around like that too.
He want them slick gigolo con niggas, man. He get a female, get in her back pocket, nigga. She opened up the whole purse.
Yes. Yeah, but some of them got his butt too. They put a couple of babies on him through the years. He was crazy enough to tell me all his business, and they put babies on him and everything.
You see on one of them documentary specials that went around and he got me for like $40,000 and he took my whole life savings. And
I ain't gonna tell all his business, but he had some of them things going on. Okay,
before we go, I want to talk to you. You got this new record coming out.
I do.
And you know what it's called? Ain't it? It's called Beat It Up. So give me some context, T. Let's talk about it.
I'm just trying to
this called Beat It Up.
You trying
to get that out of my head because he ain't got my head over there. Okay, let me So I just want to say this, okay? So he still to this day, he'd call me and be like, such and such want to talk to you. I'm like, who? Such and such. I'm like, how the hell they knew I was out of all people? Yeah, I said, why every time you around somebody, you jumping me on the phone? I said, he on the phone having conversations with people. That's probably the opening. My ex-wife, she used to do this. So he can get a conversation going on using me. So he's still using me. You know what I mean? And I'm like, don't call me no more when you're around people. Stop. That's terrible. Still trying to be a gigolo.
Man, I know a few of them, man. They good. They be good at what they do.
And you know how to pimp gonna pimp the pimp. You feel me?
Man.
You know what? That's what I was gonna say too.
Yeah.
I think it's so hard for women in the Bay, because the West Coast is all about pimp culture, pimping gangster culture, right? So I think it's just, I don't think we push our females like we should,
Tell the truth. I just said
I don't think we push our females like we should.
That's what I just said. Then it's a shame. That's why these girls been able to run amok. That's why these girls got all these kids turned out now. They got all their grandkids and stuff humping on each other. The girls humping on each other, don't know who they is, thinking that that's fun and it's the thing to do, playing, with life like that. And then you got, the girls wanting to go get on the strip poles, jump on OnlyFans, or want to listen to their mama, thinking all these little youngins got the answers because they didn't support us. That is the real reason. That's the real problem, because there's nothing wrong with these girls existing. If that's what they want to do, that's great. But they ain't supposed to take the whole plate like that. That ain't cool. You know what I mean? They just let them run amok. You know,
Well, you
and
know the
you
big
barely
thing.
see us. That's why I've
Yeah,
been
the
able
big.
to hang on only because I was born into the game as a machine. Because I know how to keep my own cell phone when I was ready to stay on. You know what I mean? But
Right.
if I wasn't taught the game, it's nowhere in the world I would have accomplished 20 albums, solo albums, 25.
Let's talk about this new one though. It's called "Beat It Up."
Beat it up. Beat it up. Go on, wiggle with it. Beat it up.
Hey,
All day long. Baddie like me alone. Little drummer boy wanna beat on my drum. Original stallion just having fun. Wiggle with it. Wiggle with it. Beat it up good. One love to the ones that represent the hood. Go on, wiggle with it. Go on, do the most, baby. Don't play with it. Yeah. I can go on and on. Hold it down because the DJs can play my
it
song.
sounds the same.
I did
It's,
it first.
it sounds the
That's
same though.
hard.
Yeah.
That's hard. Who made the beat for you? Who produced the record?
There's a guy, his name is Ready Rat. Ready Rat. Yeah. So Ready Rat Production, that's his name. Sean Rutherford is his full name. He did that. And yeah, he put his foot in that. So I'm really blessed because through the years, although I talk about my little small hiatus and then I talk about how the limited amount of support, but I've had a lot of cool producers that just come and lace me and just give me music like, hey, sugar, what you got, what you need, and just looking out. So he was one of them producers that's always, I call him like, look, you got some tracks, or he called me like, look, I'll make this track, Suge, see if you like it, that kind of thing. So Ruddy What, he's a pretty decent producer. He's from he's in Arizona, and I think he ended up moving down south somewhere. But yeah, that's Ruddy Red. He did that. But I had some good ones. G Cuddy, he's on the production as well. I'm a producer. I come in with an idea, and I get down with them. I have some of the producers that collaborate with me. I may have something that I want to sing, something I want to write, because I do all different type of genres of music. I don't just do hip hop, but I'm more known as hip hop. But I sing too. I got a band, and I do some classical stuff. I'll be going to different like places because this is what I was forced to do to navigate this system, because the system got a little, like we've been talking about earlier, they kind of put us on the back burner, burying us, and nobody had that life jacket or was like, hey, where the sisters? Where the sisters at? Where our big sisters? Where our sisters at? Where our queens at over here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ain't nobody on the West Coast did that to us. None of us.
But the great part about now is
going?
that it's hard to blackball somebody now because you can put your own records out now.
Yeah, and I don't think they trying to blackball us. I just think that, but indirectly it happens. And I think it's just the ignorance, because they so busy trying to keep their cell phone, and so busy it's all about money and muscle. And then some of them got to please their wives, they got to please the system. They trying to stay in the front. Some of them trying to stay young, and and they're not mature enough to really see the importance of that balance. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot of them. I've heard conversations where they don't think it's a problem with these girls being stinking like this. They're like, oh well, they just doing everything, they getting their money. I'm like, but God dog, I mean, y'all want this whole industry to just become a strip fest for girls? This what you want? You think this okay?
Yeah, the thing is, when they have kids and they go to school and they friends got their phones out and they're like, look at such and such mama. Look at such and such mama.
Yeah, absolutely. And what man gonna take you serious? All they really gonna want is either to pimp you out. You know what I'm saying? I be having to get a lot of these girls that be the men, keep them in the videos and stuff. And I be trying to mentor them. Girls, stop letting these men have you over here with your tail out and shaking and humping on the floor and stuff. Don't tell them, no, I don't twerk. You dance, so dance. You ain't got to do all that. Tell them you want to dance in the video. You don't want to twerk. Tell them you don't do that no more. You know what I'm saying? Because the guys, they really take advantage of these girls, and they be up there ready to go. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's sad. Yeah.
Yeah. So when is the record dropping?
So the record it's basically already dropped, but the video, we just shot the video, so the video should be dropping within the next week. He should be finished with it within the next week. I've been, sprinkling some on my website at Suga T Official. And it's some bangers on there. Like I was fighting between, it's a song called Baddie. You know what I mean? it's raw. It's like it's bumping, right? That's gonna be the next one. So, I was twirling between that one and Baddie, but the reason why I picked that one because I'm like, okay, this one goes with Blow the Whistle. So you know what? You got that feeling of that, a little bit of swag and talk a little smack and give them a little legend reminder and you know,
Mm-hmm.
speak a little some things into existence. They're gonna be
Mm-hmm.
listening to me for the next 10 years, 20 years, and next few decades, that kind of thing. Um, but the baddie gonna be coming behind that one. It's raw. I'm from the hood for real. Y'all just acting like it. Her baby daddy like it. You ain't gotta like it. Them dudes on my bumper, they be trying to wife me, but you mess with silly girls and I ain't nothing
Hey,
like me. The weaves are fleek, them hoes is weak.
I see you. I
Yes,
see you. I
indeed.
hear you.
You know what I'm
I see
saying?
where they're going.
Just to give them a little something to to keep them up on clarity that because
Yeah,
I'm always doing positive stuff. I have a
yeah, I
really
see you.
positive image, but
Mhm.
they have to also understand that there's the other side that can come out at any given moment,
Right.
as well. Mhm.
Oh, for sure, man. Well, I appreciate you coming to sit down and bless us with your legendary status.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks for having me in '08 over there. Look at you, MC Eiht.
I'm just hanging. I'm just hanging.
I ain't seen you in a minute in
Yes, ma'am.
person because I think
Yeah,
the
I'm
last
just
was
trying to.
years ago.
Yeah,
We gotta
I'm.
try to see. You're still rapping, right?
Yeah, I'm doing a little something. I'm working on a project right now.
Okay, well, keep me in the loop. Like,
Got you,
say my
definitely.
verse. Say me a verse. I get on there and show
We
out what you.
definitely got you. I'm gonna have to have Steel call you up, send you a beat or something.
Absolutely. Let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah. And anything, any
Yeah,
singing, you want some, if you want to put some, that that mob music with that,
Yeah, yeah,
singing that time and name ringing, major factor FedEx, high
yeah.
power lawyers and a young
Steel,
nigga
you definitely
having his
gonna have to get
bread.
something cracking.
I
yeah.
bless
You
it
can
up.
you can really sing.
Yeah.
Let him know, man. Let him know, let him know, let him know, boy. Of course, boy.
Well,
I can
Steel
sing.
gonna definitely call you and guide you on something.
Yes, absolutely. I'm a real singer. I'm just a singer in a rapper's brand. So,
You
Yeah,
you
for
got
sure.
his mind clicking right now. I see him thinking.
Yeah, look at this nigga over there. This nigga over there, man, getting busy.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
he getting busy and singing really well. You need to be pushing that.
I do. I got singing albums, honey. Yeah.
You need to be pushing your line. You got a beautiful voice.
Thank you. I have been actually on my page today. I saw Shirley Murdoch's voice.
Oh yeah.
I did a throwback. And now it's time for us to say goodbye.
Oh yeah.
Goodbye, baby.
Yo, stop playing, man. You
Leaving
gotta get
you.
on the compilation or something.
Oh man, I'm messing with her, man. I'm messing with it all day, man. Well, man,
Oh
on
yeah.
that note, man, we out of here.
Yeah, thanks for let's go. Y'all
Yes,
peace.
go,
Make sure
sugar.
y'all
All
follow
right,
me.
good
Go to the
looking,
Sprinkle
baby.
Me Boutique. Go to the sugarrush.com and get all 20 albums. The sugarrush.com. Yes. And go
You
to the
heard what she said.
Sprinkle Me
Yeah.
Boutique and shop Sprinkle Me. You deserve to be sprinkled.
Yes, indeed.